Welcome to AEW Unrestricted, the official podcast of All Elite Wrestling. I am here. I'm Aubrey Edwards, and I'm also here with the birthday boy, or at least it's your birthday week. But happy birthday, Will Washington. How you doing?
Oh, thank you. I'm doing great. Look, I'm 38 now,
Ooh,
and so
welcome to 38. It's a pretty good year.
yeah, that's what I hear. It's like it's officially. I have to officially say late 30s now. Like I could get away with saying mid 30s for the last few years, but now it is late 30s, and
closer
like 40,
way closer to 40 than 30.
Oh yeah, 40 is absolutely on my tail, and it's like my daughter's just been like rounding up. She just tells people, she's like, "Oh yeah, he's 40." And I'm like, "No, I am 38. Give me 2 more years." But no, it's been great. It's been great. Everybody, for all the birthday wishes I got, like everybody, thank you. It's been wonderful.
It's been wonderful. It's been wonderful, and it's been wonderful watching you grow each and every year into the amazing human that you are. Speaking of birthdays.
Thank you. But folks, don't forget that this show right here is presented by Upper Deck, and you can collect your favorite wrestlers in 2025 Upper Deck AEW and start your trading card collection today. You can unwrap autograph memorabilia or premium tech inserts. Visit upperdeck.com to learn more. And look at this, I got my Metal Universe cards. I love these. They're
so shiny.
They're so shiny.
I was like seeing all of my like friends and coworkers who I like know as people backstage, and that's one of the things I love about this podcast is we get to kind of show more of like the people that they are. And
it's so funny you said that, because this pack I just opened is like some of the just most fun people backstage, and
who do you get?
I mean, because look, I got Satnam, right, and
oh my god,
yeah,
that was the friggin' best.
Satnam Singh is such a hoot.
I got Jack Perry, who I'm very excited to have backstage again because he likes to poke the bear quite a bit, and having him around has been super, super funny. I was like, man, I miss Jack. I'm so glad he's here.
He has always got like one great zinger or like sly remark just right under the surface, and you can tell he's just waiting for it, and as soon as it hits, you're like, dang.
Oh, yeah, he got me. I have Queen Aminata, who's one of our, can I call her a breakout star? Like everyone knows she's freaking awesome, but I feel like she's had like an incredible year, and seeing all the things she's been doing has been super awesome. Also, you can check out all of her amazing gear that she has on these cards, which she makes herself, by the way.
Look, I got Mason Madden. Always great conversation. Man, like I said, just some of the names here, almost used a real name here, but Brody King.
That's always the fun one. Is like,
I almost came out just because I saw his face, and I was like, I just wanted to say it, and then I thought, no, Brody King though, always excellent,
real good guy. Speaking of excellent, and one of the people that I love talking about all the time is this Mr. Kyle Fletcher here, who I mean, I talked about Queen Aminata's breakout star, but Kyle Fletcher's like future champion. Like I think everybody knows that. Nobody bats an eye when you say that. A future world champion, because he's currently TNT champion, right? Like he's just so great seeing his body transform, seeing his wrestling transform, seeing the person he's become, just so great. And I love that we get the time that we do to talk about the Kyles that we love in our life. And speaking of Will, what time is it?
Well, I think it's about time to conglomerate again, because look, these have always been my favorite guests to have here on Unrestricted, and this particular guest is no exception to that rule. And I'm so excited to have him back on Unrestricted, because it's been quite a while since he's been here. But ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Kyle O'Reilly is here.
Hey.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Dude, thank you for doing this. Thank you for being back here on Unrestricted. It's been 3 years since you've been here on the show. And a lot has changed for you in 3 years. Because 3 years ago, you suffered a severe injury that saw you out of action for quite some time. And so you've been back in action a year and a half now. Talk to me about where your head is at, because I know for a long time there were a lot of doubts. You know, how has your mental been being back in the ring and being back almost, I would say, to top form Kyle O'Reilly?
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, and, you know, talk about a full circle moment, because the last match that I had before being injured for 2 years was with Jon Moxley. And now my most recent
Whoa.
Yeah,
match
it was
from
in Kansas
Wednesday
City.
was with yeah, it was in Kansas City. It was with John Moxley, my most recent match now. So yeah, I feel like I actually have finally kind of reached as close to back to normal as possible. Does that make sense? You know, because like the first
Absolutely.
few months of just getting back in, I've been wrestling back, you know, over a year now. Again, it's been I think coming up on almost 2 years since I've been back wrestling, and like feel like you know just kind of getting my stride again. If all you know, and as wrestlers, we're always pursuing the best versions of ourselves, and it's always going to be a work in progress. But I feel like I'm kind of finally getting closer to how I felt pre-injury, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. And just to kind of dive into the injury a little bit, because I remember like talking to it was either you or someone else about like how ridiculous it actually was. Like,
Yeah,
could you go into a little bit detail, like describing what the injury was?
yeah. I mean, for lack of a better term, I broke my neck. But it happened a lot, like a few months before actually getting taken out of action. It happened in a match with Ray Phoenix in the Owen Hart tournament. I did like a move that I've been doing my whole career, and it's like where I kind of these sort of floating butterfly suplexes where I would kind of half 50% of the time plant my on my own head and 50% of the time I'd be totally safe. Such an unnecessary move now looking back in retrospect, but I did that move and just for whatever reason, we thought it was a shoulder injury for like a few months, but then I just kept working on it because it didn't seem that urgent. And a few months after working through it, realizing it was a neck injury, it was a few compressed discs, so I needed to go get the surgery and get fixed. And yeah, there was some complications with my surgery. You're supposed to get that arm strength back post surgery and start feeling better post surgery, but kind of had a complication that happens in like 8% of these injuries, or a really small percentage. It might even be as low as like 4% or something, but there's nothing we can really do. But it was called C5 palsy, and my arm basically shut off completely for like 10 months. I couldn't really use it at all. It was really scary for a while, especially at a time in my life, you know, where I have a young daughter at home and I'm like, oh, like, can I even pick her up, let alone have a career again, you know? So those are the things that were weighing on my mind. But just to stay grounded and to know that, with time, everything will heal, and just to be patient and to trust the rehab and, you know, trust the journey and the process. And it might have taken a little longer than expected to finally come back, but it all happened at the right time because those were an extra 18 months at home. That was precious, valuable time for bonding with my daughter, you know, and that's time that I'll never be able to get back. This time that I would have had on the road juggling wrestling as well as that. So it was, it's crazy how life and the universe kind of hands you little treats here and there when they seem like the worst thing at the time. And then you look back and it was like, oh, that was actually a gift.
Honestly, that's the best silver lining I could have imagined
Yeah.
hearing as far as that injury was concerned, and knowing that you did get to have that time. So honestly, like, you know, everything I wanted to ask you was about, like, you know, how are you doing mentally with all of it? But
Yeah.
honestly, like, that feels like the best case scenario in terms of, you know, as a dad myself, you know, those early years are those most formative years where you start to see them reflect you and
Yeah.
reflect back to you, and to get to spend all of that time with her, that had to have been amazing.
It was super special for sure.
Love that. But then you did get to make your return, Revolution. And that was a particularly special night because it was a night where everything was kind of centered around Sting
Yeah.
and seeing Sting go. But as we saw Sting off, you got to make your return. So it was almost like the passing ships or crossing. I don't know. There's a term we can use for that, and it's not coming to me in the moment. But either way, it was kind of a full circle night for everybody in AEW because I think everybody was super excited to see you back
Yeah.
and see you have that moment. The fans lost it when you hit the ring in that moment. Talk to me a bit about what that night was like for you.
Amazing to be a part of such a special night because I mean, before the injury as well, it looked like was kind of going into a little program with Sting and might have gotten to work with him and
Mm,
Darby in a tag or two and
Mm-hmm.
like maybe get some matches. It didn't work out, of course, but to be on the show of Sting's retirement was so special and so amazing to see that. And oh my God, what a match. Like just to be in that building, to see that live was, I mean, that meant more to be there than returning. Honestly, it was return for me was more that first pay-per-view match that I had with Roddy, where it was like, okay, now I'm back. That felt like my actual kind of return, like just appearing in the ring and stuff. Like that's really cool and it's special, but like it was, yeah, I didn't. It just didn't feel the same. You know what I mean? As when you're actually getting in there and you're ready to perform.
I think my favorite part of that moment was seeing you in the ring and you're like super serious because we're trying to set this moment of like, you don't know if you're going to be siding with them or turning on them. But like the crowd is so receptive that it's like impossible for you to not smile in that moment because of
Yeah.
everything that had
Oh
happened
yeah.
on the journey.
Yes. Impossible to not smile and well up a little and just feel the emotions because it's a real emotion.
Right.
I did go through a lot of struggle mentally through this whole journey, not to mention the physical aspect of it. So it was a huge, you know, weight being lifted off my shoulders that I got to have my career back, that I got to appear in front of a crowd again. Like that's huge. And with my friends in the ring, like how special is that? You know, I'm extremely
Right.
great.
It's one of
Yeah.
those things like you almost like can't plan it in wrestling, but then
No.
when it happens, it's just like, oh, this is the most magical thing, like way it could have happened. Like
That's all
it's
wrestling is a series of mistakes and unfortunate events that we have to juggle and deal with. It seems like it just, you never, whatever you expect is going to happen usually does not go that way. But
not
like we talked
at
about before, a lot
all.
of these things you're handed are little gifts that might not happen otherwise. And that's what wrestling's all about, is making it work. It's live TV every single week.
So considering like making it work, just on that topic, I know that when a lot of people come back from injury, they sort of have to change their style a little bit because of, you know, you're factoring in all of these new things and sort of protecting your body. So what has sort of been the thing for you knowing coming back from broken neck surgery, nerve damage, being able to wrestle again? Like how has your mentality in the ring sort of changed?
I feel like I've always had a kind of a grounded, safe, somewhat safe, for lack of a better term, style. You know, I didn't take too many risks, but it's just wear and tear, years of wrestling. This month, actually, I think tomorrow is the anniversary of my first match 20 years ago. So I'm 20 years in now. You know,
Whoa.
I guess 2
Wow.
years off for an injury, so 18 years. But
It will still count it.
yeah,
No,
I'll
it
still count
counts.
it. You know,
If the paycheck was coming from wrestling, you're still in wrestling.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But to answer, I mean, those butterfly suplexes I have not done since. I don't know if I will do those again. You know, maybe, never say never. It's wrestling. But I feel confident in my like abilities to keep it grounded, to keep it safe and slow and methodical. My, you know, my style and my approach to wrestling, my philosophies in wrestling is, you know, just treat it as realistic as possible. And I think that's kind of helped, been a bit of my saving grace in coming back and treating my body a little better.
You know, one of the questions that I think a lot of the fans have kind of wanted to know for some time, kind of going back to the injury a little bit, there were rumors floating around the internet for a few months there that, you know, it could have possibly been the end for Kyle O'Reilly. And I guess my question is, one, how true was that? Was there any point where it was like, you know, maybe this isn't going to be the future for me? And what were some of the thoughts around it going around your head as far as that was concerned in wrestling?
I mean, the truth is, we didn't know how much of my arm would come back, if any of it. So it was a very real possibility, right? You know, thankfully it did come back. I mean, it's not the same. Like, there's a noticeable difference in my arms, but I mean, that's beyond the point. What we do is entertainment, and it's who needs a pesky bicep, anyways? It's just getting in the way. I was getting in the
Some
way. I'm
people
trying
don't
to
even
get
have them.
directions to
Like
the beach.
whatever.
It's like, get out of there. Yeah. So, you know, but that I had faith in the process and this, and you know, I love this business, and no matter what would have happened, I feel like I could be involved in some degree, no matter what. And when it is time to hang up the boots, hopefully I'll still be involved in the wrestling business to some degree, you know. And that's the beauty of what we do, and that's the beauty of what AEW is. You know, we create those opportunities for guys who aren't in the ring anymore. So I think, you know, there's definitely a career post wrestling, and you know, and that's the thing about, we never know when our last match is going to be. So I'm grateful for every match that I have at this point moving forward, because that's the thing. You know, if you like, maybe the show before All In, you know, me and Roddy and Adam were having a 6-man tag, and like before we go out the curtain, we just have a little powwow and a little hug, and we're just so grateful for these moments that we get to have behind the curtain right before our music's about to hit, right when it's just the three of us and we're just focused on the match and the love that we have for each other and the trust that we all have for each other. And just like, we never know how many of those that we're going to have again. And then lo and behold, like, we don't know where Adam Cole's at right now, but for the foreseeable future, that was his last match for the time being, right? So you can't take any of this for granted, and you got to appreciate and love every minute you get in there.
Hell yeah, got to really live in the moment. And I think you're very, very good at doing that. And it's one of the things I love working about you is you just appreciate every moment as they come along. This is an incredible conversation with Kyle O'Reilly. We've got more coming up. We're going to talk conglomeration. We're going to talk Battle of the Kyles. Stay tuned here on AEW Unrestricted. AEW Unrestricted. We got Will, we got Aubrey, and we have Kyle O'Reilly here. We've been talking a lot about coming back from injury and the almost like miraculous return that you've had, considering that, wrestling was in question. And I think the last time we had you on, we literally had to like reschedule because you had just had a kid. So It's like life has changed a lot in the last 3 years since we talked to you. And there's a lot of great things. And I feel like you have
actually, it's been almost 4 years now.
4 years? Oh my God. Where has the time gone? Oh my God.
Yeah, it is because you did come in end of 21. And a lot has so much has changed over time. And
time is a construct, or I don't know what the rule is, whatever. Anyway, one of the things that I love seeing on TV is your antics with the conglomeration. We recently had Mark Briscoe on, and we're talking about like how great this group is, and I want to hear from your perspective. Like, how did this happen? How did you end up in the conglomeration? Because it's my favorite group.
Is there any answer to that question? I mean, the whole concept of the group, it's the conglomeration. It's just a conglomerate of personalities that somehow work together, but there's no pressure involved in the conglomeration either. You know what I mean? It's like we don't always got to back each other up, but we do on occasion when it feels like we're all in our own little world and we all fit together really well, and we're all doing our own little things on the side as well. It's really unique, and that's what I like about it. There's really no sort of anything that's really. I mean, of course, everything's been done in wrestling. Don't get me wrong, but I guess it's a unique sort of group, I guess, in that respect.
I think what a lot of fans took away from the birth of the conglomeration, because I remember the first promo we did that pretty much spawned the existence of the conglomeration, that was setting up the tag with Don Callis family, and it was the one where Willow came in, and it was the one where he said the word of the day is conglomeration. And what was fun about that promo in particular was that in the moment, we had you right over Mark Briscoe's shoulder, and you're reacting to the things he's saying and giving the emotes and all of that. And it was like, okay. And I remember the reactions to the promo. A lot of fans were saying things like, oh my God, like this like Kyle's really got some like comedic chops in ways that I didn't realize he had. And his timing is excellent, and like all of this. And so the way that like Mark Briscoe is cutting this promo and getting everybody hyped, in the way that you're right behind him, almost in like the Key and Peele translator way, and like the way that it all kind of came together, it gave people such a different view and a different window into a side of Kyle O'Reilly that I think people have come to really enjoy about you. How have you felt getting to do those promos? Because like that's really the beauty of the conglomeration, is you're going to get these excellent matches because everybody in the conglomeration is extremely talented in the ring. But then when you guys get to come together backstage, we always know there's going to be some sense of fun with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is an absolute blast working with this group of individuals, because we all bring something unique to the table, and we all play off each other, and we all have the same sort of sense of humor, I guess, for lack of a better term, right? And but it's all just a happy accident. We don't really talk too much about what's going to happen or what we're going to do. We just conglomerate and let it sort of be natural, right? And I think that's what the key to the group really is, And with Mark, I mean, just getting to react to him is it's a treat, right? And I love playing that, like, just to be there and just to react to Mark is my favorite thing in the world to do. It's so fun. And it's great.
One of my favorite moments is when he handed you the belt and you started
Oh
to
yeah,
throw
hold
him
my
in there
baby.
like a baby.
Yeah.
That was great.
I was like, I don't know how you're not dying of laughter right now, which is
Yeah.
probably one of the best parts about this is like you're all so serious in this moment where I am like physically dying because I'm killed over like laughing so hard. It's so phenomenal to see you guys. So I'm curious, like, is there anything in particular that like you've learned, either in the ring or out of the ring, from any of the crew in the conglomeration? Because they have such varied backgrounds, varied wrestling styles. Like the Ishii's one of the like greatest wrestlers ever, and he's like totally stone cold, like faced. What have
Yeah.
you learned from your compadres in the conglomeration?
I mean, one thing I've really learned well from Orange Cassidy is like taking those, because I'm always very like once the bell rings, I'm always very serious and straight laced, right? But Orange has a way of taking like of mixing his character into the matches without damaging the integrity of the match. Does that make sense? You know,
Oh, yeah.
he
Absolutely.
somehow he makes it work and gets like something that would be considered comedic outside of the ring, but he does it in the ring, and now it's suddenly serious. Like it's that I find is just brilliant, and I've tried to take little tricks like that from him and sort of implement some of that like sort of zany character whatever into the ring, but not too much to where it's going to diminish what I'm going to do once the bell rings. I'm a serious wrestler, but like wrestling is a circus. It's a variety show. So who's to say that every backstage promo or interview has to be me wanting to whip someone's ass? Because that's not me whatsoever. Like I've tried to be the serious, I'm gonna badass talk my way into this match kind of guy, and that doesn't suit me. It doesn't fit, So I think now I've kind of able to find like sort of something that I can kind of just be a little bit more myself and be a little wacky, I guess, when it's outside of the ring, and then turn it up once the bell rings.
And that, honestly, I think is the perfect encapsulation of who Kyle O'Reilly is, because I think that no matter what, people are always going to see you as far as in the ring as a guy who kicks ass, right? But it's like when you get to see a little bit of the charm of, just watching this podcast, I think a lot of people get just a little bit of who Kyle O'Reilly actually is, and you have such a dynamic and cool and fun personality that's relatable. And I think when they can see that in these backstages and get to see it as you guys mesh as the conglomeration, because you are all very unique personalities. You mentioned having similar senses of humor, but at the same time, all of you are very, very different personalities, and I think that's really what helps bring it together.
Yeah.
And so I guess that brings my next question to, how you mentioned how Orange Cassidy kind of weaves his into the match, but at the same time, on the other end of it, you do kind of the opposite, where it's like you almost can't bring the kind of smiling, charming side backstage. How do you find the ability to hit that switch?
It's a good question. I just, once that bell ring, like I'm treating it like a fight, and that's what this is, right? Like it can, mouth off all day in a promo or whatever, but I don't know. It's just to do something a little bit different, I guess. I don't know. That's not really a very good answer to your question, but I really don't know what that is. I've always been just a guy that can, yeah, I just love wrestling, and I love it to be as realistic and believable as possible. And I don't want to really sacrifice that style, but it doesn't say I can't be an idiot backstage in my promos and stuff. Like I have no problem having egg on my face and looking like a total dumbass. Like I think that's what's kind of unique. Not everybody needs to look like Billy Badass and that can whoop everyone's ass. Like I'm fine being the guy that like is going to slip on a banana peel and get stuck in a broom closet backstage, but then the bell rings, I'm gonna whoop your ass. Like this is how it should be. You can be both. You don't have to be a killer back. You can be, and most fighters, or no, I don't know. I don't know a lot of fighters, but you basically go to like any jujitsu gym in America, and you'll find that kind of nerdy person that just has a weird, zany sense of humor. But like once that you roll with them on the mats, you're going to get choked out real quick. And I think not a lot of people who conglomerate on their couch every week understand that.
I just love all of the usage of conglomeration on this podcast as both a noun and a verb. It's quite refreshing and wonderful.
Yeah.
But I think you hit like the nail on the head with that. Like we're in wrestling. Like it's a silly traveling circus where we play fight in our underwear. Like the concept of it by itself is sort of silly and interesting. So I feel like the people that are the most successful are the ones who are able to, put the egg on their face in a promo backstage, but then also completely flip that switch, however it may happen, whether it's the bell ring or your pre-match powwow or just take a shot of pre-workout, whatever it is that you need to do. That it switches it on. And I think those are the people that are not only the most successful at it, but the people that we enjoy watching the most, because those are the most authentic kind of people. It's where we get to see kind of you as a character, but then also you as this person you're portraying, and all of those are kind of interwoven with each other. So it's really, really awesome. I'm so happy that, like, having been someone who watched you in ROH and, various other companies before you came over to AEW, and then getting to know you, I'm like, oh man, Kyle's even better than I thought he was. Like, this is fantastic.
You guys gotta stop with the compliments.
I mean, it's an official podcast. Like, we're gonna do a little bit of that.
No, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, this is an awesome conversation with Kyle. We're gonna take another quick break. We've got more to talk about here on Unrestricted, so much more. So stick around, stay tuned. Yeah. AEW Unrestricted, we are talking to Kyle O'Reilly, one of the conglomeration, a fantastic wrestler, wonderful person, loving father. I could say so many amazing things about Kyle. I already have on this podcast. But one of the things that I feel like we have to talk about, it would be doing a disservice to our fans to not talk about it, is your feud with Kyle Fletcher, which... oh man, it's quite a face.
Don't even say that name.
I know. Hey, he's been the better Kyle, as you've said. But I think having been, I got to be the ref for the first one, and I want to know your thoughts on it, because I felt it was incredibly hard to not lose myself in the moment of what the fans were doing, just coming up with all of these different chants and trying to stay serious in this moment. Because as we talked about, once the bell rings, that flip is switched, right? But now you have this element of the fans that are totally making this a completely different experience. What has that been like for you?
That's such a wild thing to experience. Anytime we're in the ring and you get just a crowd reaction that you're not really expecting as much, it's such a gift and it's such a treat. And that match was really sudden. I think it was the show was already underway. It was one of those Dynamite Collision double taping.
Yeah.
We were nearing the end of Dynamite. It's you guys are gonna wrestle in Collision now. We're oh, okay. So it was very sudden and put together, and just didn't really expect it whatsoever. And oh yeah, what a gift! In the moment too, just trying not to laugh. This is just awesome, and we're trying to use it and play off it, but not give into it too much to where it's corny and we're taking away from the fact that we're two competitors trying to beat each other. You know what I mean? It was really neat, and it was in Seattle, right?
I think so, somewhere around there, maybe.
It was in Washington.
I think it was Washington. Yeah, it was Kent.
Yeah, it was Kent. Yeah. Just for the Northwest crowd, they're always incredible, and it was really neat. Yeah.
Yeah, and it always reminded me of because the first time that had happened in AEW, and it became clear that this is always going to be a thing when this scenario comes about. Because I think about Revolution. What was that? 22.
Adam Cole versus Adam Page.
Adam Cole versus Adam Page, and of course the fans really, you could hear it start to brew up as you heard "Let's go Adam, Adam sucks," and then all of a sudden the whole match is just surrounded in Adam, and it's the second we realized, wait, Kyle Fletcher's here, Kyle O'Reilly's back, this has to happen, but you don't necessarily anticipate that the fans are going to do exactly what they did there, and it has become just one of those cool AEW things that is just unique to our company. I did want to talk about Adam Cole because I feel like that's a really big, important piece of your career when we talk about Adam Cole, and whether we could talk about going back to WWE, and even before WWE, we could talk about
Ring of Honor.
Ring of Honor. You guys have had so much history together. And this last stretch of Adam Cole's career, prior to his injury, you guys got to work together as the Paragon. You guys were working an incredible series of trios matches on a regular basis. Kind of talk about, people have been wanting to see kind of a full on reunion for some time. From the time you really stepped into AEW, the first time, when you first got into AEW, it was you and Bobby Fish and Adam Cole, and you guys were working as the Undisputed Elite. And then your injury happened, and Adam Cole's injury happened, and then but then Roddy came into the company, and so people for so long had wanted to see you guys really get to do this finally together as a trio. What were those last few months like, finally getting to do this the way you guys had kind of always been able to do it?
Yeah, I mean, we absolutely love getting to work with each other, and I would not have any career without Adam Cole. Like, I'm the man I am, let alone the wrestler I am today, because of Adam Cole. So I'm eternally, forever grateful for him and for everything he's done for me, my career, not to mention Roddy and Bobby, the entire group of us. So getting to, have one last chance to get together and perform together in tags and matches and trios matches and just doing promos again together, it's just seamless. Like, it was just the easiest thing in the world to do together. It's so natural and just so fun, and just, we just have so much love for each other. And it's just it's unfortunate that it had to sort of not end the way it did, because nothing's ever
It's not over.
No,
No.
of course. But it's such a sad, unfortunate circumstance that that what happened at All In. But I'm really proud of Adam, for making that call, and for being the stand up guy that he is, and for taking his health into account, and for starting that process to getting well again. Like, it's huge, and I'm just forever proud of him, man, and just grateful that we got to do that again together. Like I was saying earlier, just we never know when hang it up in wrestling, and so it was just really weird that we got to say that last match. Appreciate these moments while we got them.
Yeah, just to hope that they happen, but if they don't, appreciate what you had.
Yeah.
Yeah. You talked a little bit in the first segment sort of about your first full circle moment, like having wrestled Jon Moxley before you went out, and then now having just defeated him by DQ, sort of the end of this month. Talk about kind of what that victory means from you, more from a wrestling sense, because I think you touched on it kind of from emotional sense and a healing sense.
Yeah, I mean, victories and losses don't really mean much to me at the end of the day, as long as the performance was good. Like, I honestly didn't even realize, dawn to me until the next day, that I had a victory over Jon Moxley, because it was a DQ, so it doesn't feel like the same thing. And then it feels like, oh wait a second, I got
counts in the record book.
Yeah, in the record books it counts. So yeah, it's cool on paper. It's really neat. But those are the least of my troubles. I just really just want to take every performance and just do something unique with, and do something that's not necessarily hasn't been seen before, but to take a different approach to every match or moment that I get. And like you talk about the thing with Mark, and just being in the background and just reacting to him. That's just because it's like, no matter what minute little shot you might get in the background, make the most of that. Even if it is just getting a little facial expression that is off in the corner, someone might notice that, and take into account, and you never know what it could turn into.
Yeah, I was there in person, because it was 11 months before I started in AEW. I was there in Kansas City for that match with you and Jon Moxley, and you honestly would have never known that there was any sort of injury at play, because I remember, if I remember correctly, it was you had won a battle royal earlier in the night, and then to face Jon Moxley, and it was for a shot at the interim AEW World Championship. You guys tore the house down in that match. I remember coming away from that thinking, like, I hadn't even considered how good of chemistry Jon Moxley and Kyle O'Reilly were going to have in the ring, and then you guys just gelled out there. And so it made me really happy to see that again this past week on Dynamite. And again, you guys didn't have as much time as you had the first time, but at the same time, the minutes you guys did have, you just gel. Talk about John Moxley as an opponent in these two matches, and again, vastly different matches. You know, John Moxley was a babyface at the time, first time around. You were the heel, and now here you are working as a babyface and him as a heel. How has it been working with John?
He's just an absolutely incredible performer, and just all around, just like I think he really just makes everybody in AEW step up their game because he's there. He's
Mhm.
at every show. He's there in the ring for hours before. He's there after the show. He's always there as an ear for people to ask questions. Like he lives and breathes this business. You really get a sense of that he is, captain of this ship, in my opinion. Like he's really he's a huge inspiration to me, and getting to work with him has been great, and having great chemistry with him is the icing on the cake. You know what I mean? So we've done 2 matches now. I think we both enjoy working with each other, and we have good chemistry and good matches. So hopefully there'll be a few more down the line, and even just
Hell
any
yeah.
sort of conglomerate Death Riders sort of mix and mash. I think there's a lot of good stuff there.
Hell yeah. Take notes, Will. That's going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, look, honestly, that's kind of been the thing the last couple of weeks is that we've really seen the Death Riders going head to head with the conglomeration, and you guys are, when we talk about the backstages, it's like polar opposites in that you're gonna get when we see those pre-tapes from the Death Riders, it's very
Yes.
much death. It's very much scare and death and destruction, and then we turn around and we get the conglomeration, and I mean, literally, you guys have possibly now the greatest entrance video in the history of professional wrestling.
They're just different sides of the same coin,
Different sides of the same coin. But then you guys get in the ring together, and it's like, it's kind of like you said, no matter who you are, when you're outside of the ring, when it comes time to turn it on, everybody in there brings something different, but at the same time brings a level of intensity that's engaging for the fans, that makes them want to see this more. And the fact that we have these two high-end factions going at it right now, I think it couldn't be a better time to be a fan of the conglomeration or the Death Riders in that regard.
You could take an entire episode of Dynamite and just do conglomeration versus Death Rider matches, and it would be a completely unique show, completely different matches. Each match would be a complete banger. Like you could, and you could do such a different, like the options are, it's got to be at least 1 million options.
A lot of combinations, tags, singles, trios. There's a lot going on. I want to ask you before we finish, now that you've been through this injury, you've kind of had this amazing experience at AEW. I'm curious now, are your goals in wrestling different than before they were before you were injured?
It's an interesting question. For me, it's like goals in wrestling are like putting food on the table and to have a job in wrestling. That's like number one. In terms of like winning championships and stuff like that, like those are nice accolades if they come around, but that's not my number one objective, And as we get older, we all have different hopes and dreams and goals that we want to accomplish. You know what I mean? Like, God, can a guy just want to write some poetry? Jeez. But like, lots of different things like that, it's not all about wrestling for me as I get older. And like, I've got other aspirations and things like that. They don't necessarily want to get into detail about, but like in terms of wrestling goals, like I get to do this, I get to fly to a different city and be with my friends, and I get to perform, and I get to create art. And at the end of the day, like that's why I got into this, was to create my version of this beautiful art form that we all love and is so unique, and we all get like, you're told what to do, and someone says you do this, and yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir. But once the bell rings, you get that 5 minutes. That's when you get to your freedom. You get to paint that little bit of a picture. You might have some limitations, a bit of restrictions on the colors that you get to use, but it's still your interpretation of the art. And that's, man, I'm just so grateful I get to do that. And I love to do that. And I love to create, and I love to think about wrestling and conglomerate.
I love it. Kyle, this has been a wonderful conversation. One of Canada's greatest exports, Kyle
Yes.
O'Reilly. Thank you for being here
Thanks,
on
guys.
AEW Unrestricted. And don't forget, folks, that AEW Unrestricted is sponsored in part by Upper Deck. You can collect your favorite wrestlers in 2025 Upper Deck AEW and start your trading card collection today. Unwrap autograph memorabilia or premium tech inserts. Visit upperdeck.com to learn more. And you can listen to and follow this podcast, AEW Unrestricted, at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. And you can check out the video episodes on our YouTube channel at AEW Unrestricted. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode, and you can see all of our beautiful faces and see Kyle O'Reilly here. And again, make sure you're subscribed on our YouTube channel, AEW Unrestricted. Also, are you an AEW insider? Because you can get early access to ticket pre-sales, special merchandise offers, and more straight to your inbox. Sign up today at AEWTix.com. And don't forget, Dynamite is live on TBS Wednesdays at 8 p.m. and streaming on HBO Max. Collision, live every Saturday on TNT and streaming on HBO Max. ROH streams every Thursday on Honor Club. I'm Will Washington. She is Aubrey Edwards. For our guest, Kyle O'Reilly. We'll see you next time, and have a great night. Peace.